Welcome to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese, a program that can help you become liberated in the modern world. Now, here's your host, Dr. Kevin W. Reese.
Inner Peace with Dr. Reese, and we're out on the what's called the sacred porch in an unknown location. So this is good. I have Paul and Susie with me, the owners of the sacred porch, and it's a nice day here. And I wanted to ask you right away, what's the key to marriage?
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I like your expression on your face. I wish this was sort of a visual thing, too, because it's nice for you to, you say that and then you throw it out at us.
Well, it's
kind of cool.
Well, I ask because I've been known to be a little cynical towards marriage because I've seen a lot of them tank, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And so I think, I usually I usually say it's like a 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
It's like you might hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
And it might go really bad.
Yeah.
But you guys came to my seminar back in May.
Yeah.
And for a couple to come to my seminar, I mean, you got to be kind of tight to come to my seminar.
Yeah, well, we do a lot of things together. We've been doing that for 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah. I think I'll start for now, and then Susie can jump on in. But right away, I'm thinking of keywords. And one of the key words would be like best friend.
Yes.
So if you're with a partner, whether you're married or a significant other, let's say, in this world.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily you have to be married, but let's say you're living together forever.
Right.
If they're your best friend, I think that's a really good foundation to start with.
Right. And you built a home together.
Yeah. Your best friends first, and everything else I think is sort of like a huge bonus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because as far as respecting each other and understanding each other's needs and that type of thing and being on the same page.
Because at the seminar, at the end there was Q&A, and you asked, or one of you asked, how do you deal with, friends, being sort of different with whether it's eating or spirituality.
Yeah.
And then how do you still mingle with the friends that you've been around for a long time? And so that's what caught my attention when you guys were there, and why I wanted to do an episode with you. Yeah,
I can answer that too. But Susie, do you have?
What's the key to maintaining a positive relationship and also being able to coexist with the friends that maybe aren't on your so-called level?
So,
like awareness level.
For a happy marriage, when he said you need to be best friends, you really need to take it back one step back from that. What makes you best friends, right?
Right.
So when someone says, well, they're my best friend, well, that's kind of a broad term. So what I think it is you genuinely like each other, and you want to do things for each other that are kind, that are respectful, that are encouraging. So that's what makes you a best friend, right? So you can communicate, you can tell them anything, you can be at your worst, you could be at your best, you can be all the different aspects of yourself, but still be their biggest fan, and they're your biggest fan.
Right.
Because you like each other.
Right.
So a lot of couples don't necessarily like each other.
Right.
They got caught, in either passion or convenience or... we bought a house. It's really a business transaction,
too,
right?
At
the beginning.
Because all of a sudden now it's like they get married, have a house, have kids, and now they're in that condition of that lifestyle. And how do you then you realize, oh, well, am I happy? I think happiness is another key to it. Asking yourself, how happy am I in my situation?
Right.
And if they're unhappy with themselves, but then they're also have locked themselves into something that they feel that they can't get out of because of children or whatever.
Sometimes people drift too. Like during my health practice years, having clients, I saw a lot of relationships end because one person changes their diet and the other person doesn't change their diet, and they're like, well, I didn't marry this person.
Yeah.
And then it goes south because one person wants to eat pizza and chicken wings,
Yeah.
and the other person's like, no, I just want to eat fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, almost like a smoker. I always feel bad for people who try to
Right.
quit
Yeah.
smoking, but their partner still smokes.
Smokes,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's difficult.
Yeah.
So
or even career changing too. Like
Yeah.
when they retire, one person wants to do something in their retirement and the other person wants to do something else in their retirement after their careers. So now what? Do they
Right.
go their separate ways but they're still married?
Right.
I don't, I don't know about that. We're always now planning because of our 17-year-old's going to be going to college next year. We're already thinking about stuff that we really want to start doing together
Right.
as a couple that we can't wait to do.
Right. Right.
Which is kind of interesting. But one other caveat too with us was that we kind of went through a lot in our lives in the beginning. This is a second marriage for both of us, so we had to go through that whole process and raising daughters that were from other marriages. So having a separate household for that.
Yeah.
Then renovating a house from scratch was something that a lot of couples get divorced after they're done renovating or through the renovation.
Like the movie Money Pit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's stressful.
So
It can be
it's very
stressful.
stressful. So getting through that's a huge test of a marriage. And but what's interesting for us, we sort of was a passion of ours. Like we enjoyed all of those things
Right.
that would have been a negative.
It's kind of like I'm really into van life. You guys familiar? Like if you go on YouTube and you look up van life, there's a whole new generation of people living in vans.
Okay.
Like instead of like getting a house, they get a cargo van, they convert it, and there's a lot of couples living. There's a couple with a dog.
Boy, and I think the
And they're
tiny house
Almost like
thing
the
was
tiny house.
the tiny
yeah.
house
And then they
shows
have a
were-
dog or something.
Same
yeah.
thing, but this is even
Tighter quarters.
to
right?
another level because it's a tinier house on wheels, right?
Yeah. And did they go from place to place for
They
work?
travel, they go place to place, and so two people have to really be on the same page to do
Yeah.
something like that. So
Right.
I just thought of that when you mentioned the whole house thing.
Yeah, it does.
If the
there's
two
many
people
levels.
have
Yeah.
the similar, if they're bonded on that similar interest,
Sure.
then a good partnership.
Yeah. I mean,
can
you're
happen.
going to have separate hobbies. Like I started golfing and all that. And I'd go do golfing with friends or whatever, just other things. Or, I'll be friends going out. She goes out with her girlfriends and goes away for a weekend every year with her girlfriends, that type of stuff. That's all healthy things to
Sure,
do.
sure.
But then we always meet back and it's time for us. And it's kind of a balance, it's an us thing, it's a family thing, and then it's friends.
Right.
So you have that kind of nice balance that you try to live your life through, you know what I mean, as
Right.
a couple, and also respect each other's territory in a sense, like or where they're headed, what they're doing. Sue wants to get more involved in nutrition,
Right.
so to me it's like, oh, that's an awesome. I feel good about that for her because she's my wife and we're best buddies, and isn't that a great thing for you that you want to do for yourself?
Right.
Isn't that cool?
Right.
And you talk about changing a diet.
Mhm.
We changed our diet 5 years ago when she had her heart issue, and we all got into a new routine because she put that into our household.
There was a catalyst.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you saying, oh, well, would a husband or a wife want to not have steak anymore, or like, wait a minute, I can't go to McDonald's anymore, or
Right.
we're not going to have steak at tonight, whatever.
Right.
So what I mean is, but it's like, well, if you think about it, that was for the good. She's sort of saving my life
Yeah.
by this change.
Sure.
And you embrace that,
Sure.
you know?
Absolutely. Lifestyle change. Your hobbies are one thing. Lifestyle change is another thing. And if one person changes something in their lifestyle in a marriage, I would hope the other person does too.
Well, because I'm doing it for all what I feel are all the right reasons.
Sure.
You know?
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, you know, there's a part of me believes we have many lives, but there's no guarantee of that. So the one I have right now is with him, and I want that to last as long as possible. And I'm almost need to get ready for retirement. Like, you know, for all the years that we raise kids and we work full time and stuff, I had no interest in going to the gym. But now I almost feel like I want to go to the gym because I want to get ready to retire. And I want to have the stamina and I want to be healthy enough to do all the things that we talk about, but we're not able to do yet. So with that, the irony of that is I've seen a lot of people retire and then they don't last more than a couple years after retirement. You know, because they're health issues, and it's just, you have this vessel that you think is just going to keep going and going and going without any regard to what you're putting in it or how you're treating it. And I do the shopping, so I bring the healthier food in. But if we go to a restaurant and, you know, my daughter wants a steak, she orders a steak because to me that's I don't want to go too fanatical with the other way where then they're sneaking
push
stuff or, you know, it's all a balance. And my older two daughters are both vegetarians. They're older, so they cook their own foods. They prepare their own meals. So I know that she'll get there too. It's just a balance.
That's an interesting topic too, because bringing children into the mix, a couple has to make a decision. As soon as they find out they're pregnant, they need to make a decision. What religion is this child going to be? How's this child going to eat? Right? And whatever the couple decides, that child may rebel on that later on.
That's right.
That's what happened with me.
Okay.
Yes, I was, my mother's side is Jewish. My dad's side is Protestant. So I don't know. They cut a deal, and my dad said, "Fine, raise them Jewish, whatever."
Yeah.
So I went through the whole shebang, the bar mitzvah and everything, and I ended up resenting it.
Interesting.
And really getting upset with it.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I understand it now at 40 years old, but I didn't then at 13 years old.
No.
Right.
Why are you forcing me to speak a weird language to all these people? I don't understand.
That's right.
And I ended up rebelling, and as soon as I turned 18, I said, "Sorry, I'm not this anymore."
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that caused a rift.
Yeah.
But my point is, that can also happen with diet.
Yes.
If a couple raises a kid vegan, right? You just mentioned the not pushing it thing.
Right.
If a couple raises a kid vegan and then they turn 18, or they just get into middle school, high school.
Or they just, you know, they have a car and they go to McDonald's on their own.
You can't.
You don't know.
There's a balance. You know,
There's a
when the
balance.
cat's away, the mice will play. So, you know, Sue's at work and I'm home during the day, and I'll say to Livy, "Hey, you know, do you want to go out for lunch?" She's home for school for the summer, whatever. You know, she's working, and we go to Five Guys and get a burger.
Right.
And it's like, so it's once in a blue moon, that kind of thing. And we're not telling her you can't have any of this stuff at all.
Right.
Because I think that would be unhealthy.
So what about religion? How does a couple handle that?
Religion's tough for us because
we're neither one of us are very religious Catholic, people. Both of us were raised Catholic.
So I think maybe my mother turned me onto it so much as far as going to Sunday school, and I went to a Catholic school 5th through 8th grade, and I was actually an altar boy. And it was so saturated with it that when it was my turn at age 18, like you say, I kind of just shut it off, and I was done. Right. And I was like, okay, I'm nothing. And then when I
did the same thing too.
You know, I'm
like an agnostic.
I'm just flat. I don't have. I mean, I believe in God. You know what I mean. Right. But I just don't go to church or not involved in any of that. And I think part of it too is what really turned me off was when my first child was born with my first wife. We did try to, when she was young, a baby, bring her to church, and it was not the type of thing for her because when I grew up, my church embraced children. We would go up to the altar and sit around and hang out while the priest was talking, and he talked to the kids in the church in our language, So that made it interesting, where we weren't able to find a church that had that. It was all just this routine for adults,
Right.
and not for the kids.
Right.
And it became very boring, and they were like bored out, the kids are bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
So
And they don't understand why
yeah,
they're there.
exactly.
And you end up being more stressed. It was more of an obligation
Yes.
Yeah.
than a true, I need to go or I want to go. And when you finally become adult, you say, wait a minute, if this is just stressful to me, having
Right.
this obligation to do every Sunday morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
or, trying to figure out when we're going to go to church on Christmas Eve. Should we go at
Right.
midnight mass or should we go the next morning? It's one of those things where that's just such a personal choice
Yeah.
that it became like, wait, this is just stressful.
And what
Yeah.
about the hypocrisy? Because just using Christmas as an example, you just brought it up. I don't know what that has to do with Jesus Christ. What Santa Claus has to do with it, what a Christmas tree has to do with it.
Right.
And then you look deeper into it and there's some pagan,
Yeah.
origins there.
I think
Yeah.
the whole
So
thing
how
with
does somebody...
the Santa Claus thing, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I always feel like it's a marketing thing now. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Oh,
it's,
it
it's
truly
to
is.
sell, it's to sell stuff, sell toys, whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly. But
It's-
another thing on the religion side with the kids was, let's say we wanted to have our daughter go to catechism that they have at the church. They'd have it like 3:00 in the afternoon after school, and we're both working. And the church is a mile away or 2 miles away from the school, but they wouldn't supply any kind of transportation for that.
Right.
Yet they have the money and the wherewithal to do that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably would have had our child go to catechism.
Well, we
after
did have
school.
Emma do it.
Yeah,
And then I
but
had
it-
to have
but
my
it-
father come out
Yeah,
and bring
but,
her.
But it was really
It was
tough.
stressful.
So it's
Right.
tough
Like,
for
why?
families to have that. It's bad enough getting these kids to daycare or whatever.
Yeah.
But now the struggle of how do you get your child to a church on a Wednesday afternoon when they're not helping with that transportation part.
Right. Right.
And then they complain that the numbers are down. You know what I mean? That people
Yeah,
not
and the
attending
answer
church.
the answer I got was, if it's important to you, you'll find a way.
Well, if it's important to
And
them
it's
to have
like-
the numbers, bring them in.
It's
supply
interesting
the-
you bring up that point, because somebody did just tell me that the Christian numbers are going down.
Sure, absolutely.
Like almost like,
Yeah.
I don't want to offend anybody, but
No,
it's
no.
almost like people are...
Well, you need
More
to make it. You need
Yeah.
to make it more convenient. So there's some. I don't know what I think it's congregational in town. That while the parents are going to the sermon, the kids are down in the basement doing their religious class. You can't get more convenient than that. So you're going to want your child to do that. So it's going to make you go to church
Right.
while your child, for the same hour, is downstairs in the basement, making their little bookmarks or,
Right.
because a lot of what they teach when they're young is just to be a good person.
Right.
And there is nothing wrong with any of that.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
And a little bit of history of, what may or may not have taken place, but
Sure.
it seems like it
Yeah.
did.
But that can affect the marriage too. Like
yeah.
we're getting back on the subject, I guess, of marriage and relationship.
Yeah. What if two people marry and they're Catholics,
Yeah.
and 10 years later the other one says, I'm really into this Buddhism stuff?
Sure. Yeah.
That can
And
cause a
that
rift.
sort of happened with us, where we got more involved in meditative work and our own spiritual awareness and what you talk about with inner peace and being self-aware and being in the now, all of that type of stuff. So that's sort of our new religion kind of thing, and the girls know about it and they're cool with all that, and they also see us as extremely at peace and very happy.
Yes.
So I think that's important.
Role model.
That's very important.
To be able to preach your own gospel without words,
Yeah.
just by being a role model, just by
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, and I kind of worry about that with our kids too. Like, are they going to find their best friend? I have 3 daughters. So are my 3 daughters will they be able to find their best friend?
Yeah.
The whole percentage may be against them. But so far with our kids, at least the two older daughters, we personally feel that they have found people in their lives that we absolutely embrace, which is amazing.
Right.
We're lucky. They're lucky, but they're also, we're grateful, I guess, that's kind of cool that that's happened so far.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you guys making that shift to the more awareness tradition. It's a good term. The awareness traditions, the inner peace traditions, because Christianity and Judaism aren't necessarily that. The Eastern traditions are normally the peaceful ones.
Sure. I think it was more because we decided to be more neutral. We weren't going to pigeonhole ourselves into, we're going to go to the Catholic Church any longer.
Right.
And that's just that. We sort of wanted it to be a universal thing. So we believe in God and all that, but we also believe in the universe and the universal energy and the fact that whatever you put out to the universe comes back to you.
Yes.
And whatever you do to others come back to you.
Yeah,
So
we're a big fan of the law of attraction.
absolutely. So
Stating what you want and stating what you don't want.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it work.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I've been batting 1,000, so I've been on my own with my own career now for 8 years, and before that I had a 27-year career with the company. And a friend of mine asked me in the very beginning, "Have you asked for things?" Because I'm a freelancer, and I said, "What do you mean ask?" And she's like, "Well, you have to ask the universe for stuff, not tangible stuff, but ask for work or just ask for what you want." And I was saying to Sue, I'm going to start that. And for the past 8 years now, I've been batting 1,000. So I'd have these lulls, and I'd be in my car, and I'd be like, "Okay, universe, hear me out. I'm here. Please let my clients know that I exist and that here I am." It was almost like spiritual networking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people go on the internet and look for work and all that. I'm like talking to the universe and networking with the universe and having that network.
Yeah.
Go out.
Spiritual Google.
You got it. And then within 24 hours, I'm getting phone calls. And that's every time. Has not failed me yet, which I think is kind of cool.
And how long is the ask?
The ask is it's short. So it might be a matter of saying it a few times within a 10-minute span. Like if I'm driving somewhere in my car or I'm just at home, I will ask it out loud or ask it to myself. It's a very short pocket of time.
Yeah.
And then just have that in my mind. So it's sort of like if you say it out loud, now to me I feel like it's settled, it's there, it's out to the universe. I've sent it out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I guess I could say that I wouldn't say this, I wouldn't talk this way unless it was living proof of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have no reason to say that it's 50-50 or it sometimes happens.
Right.
I'm honestly telling you, and people know me.
Yeah.
It's 100%, and I can't explain it, and I don't want to explain it, and I don't want to know.
Right.
I don't really care about that part.
What would the priest say if you told him?
Well, the priest would say you've asked God.
Right.
And God is giving you, is answering your prayers.
Which is okay,
and
too.
That's okay. That's fine.
That's
when
okay,
I
too.
meditate,
Just playing with words.
Yeah, and when I meditate, I do ask. I guess here's another thing too. I should have clarified. I do have a committee, so I do have a list of people that I do ask for things. So it's the universe. I would say to God, and I'd say, God, send your angels down, and please have them send message out that this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'd like to have in my life. This is what I'd like to feel or be. And then, it used to trickle down to like my mom has passed. So I would talk to her. I would talk to my uncle. And even what I think is very important is also gratitude. So to be thankful.
Sure.
So when you say thank you so much, or if the phone rings and I hang up, I'll say thank you so much for that. Thank you for that answer. And I think that is also helpful.
So you're not only thanking the person, you're thanking the universe.
I'm thanking the universe, and I think what's interesting is that people should know that there's no harm in that. I'm not affecting anybody. I'm doing this all internally for me. I'm not preaching it to my kids. I'm not preaching it to you.
Right.
I'm not preaching it to my friends or
Right.
my family.
Right.
This is all just me doing this for me, and it's okay because it's working.
Yeah.
And it may not be for everyone, and we're all good with that. But it's working for me, and I have to say, this is my life.
Right. Well, there's the original book for the Law of Attraction is a gentleman by the name of Wallace Wattles, and the book is called The Science of Getting Rich, and it's a kind of a misleading name, but rich doesn't have to mean money, and so that's the movie The Secret. That's what it was based off of.
Yeah, I saw that movie.
So the movie The Secret, or the documentary, the book The Secret, is based off of a daughter. No, the mom was stressed out, having a tough time. The daughter gave the mom The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. She loved it, changed her life, and decided to do a documentary, and it became The Secret.
Sure.
Wow.
And as soon as Oprah got a hold of it, boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody
right.
knows The Secret
Yeah.
now. But I say all that to say that in that book, Wallace Wattles talks about these things and generating gratitude. And when you walk around in a state of gratitude, you become like a magnet. You become like a magnet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus the opposite, which would be kind of toxic.
That's right.
Kind of complaining, you know.
Why me?
Why
I hate
me?
that.
Woe is
Yeah.
me.
Right.
A
victim.
Angry.
Yeah.
Being angry about your situation. Things of that nature.
Well, you're generating negativity then, and then it just that
Yes.
goes out to the universe.
Right.
And then you're stuck because you could say to yourself, "Oh, I really do want these things to happen," but then it's always a woe is me, and then you complain about things. Well, those complaints and that negative energy is almost like a catch-22. It's like you're chasing your own tail now because you're throwing that energy out of negativity. You're never going to be in a state of mind that's of happiness or things to come to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
One of the things that stood out to me in that book, and it was a pivotal point for me, was he referred to, instead of saying God, instead of saying universe, he called it the formless substance.
Interesting.
The formless substance.
Huh.
And he's saying that there's a formless substance all around us, and this substance merges with your thoughts. So thinking stuff is what it's called. Thinking stuff, your thoughts go out into this formless substance, and it creates.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so this is the early 1900s, and that led me back down the path, down the eastern path.
Yeah.
To and of course it's all ancient.
Sure.
This is
it's
just,
funny.
This
This stuff's been
just
going on for a gazillion years.
a gazillion
and it
years.
seems like it's there's this awareness of it
And then somebody
in the past 5 years.
As soon as a book catches on,
Right.
and Oprah or Ellen DeGeneres gets a hold of it,
Yeah.
then it becomes
all
popular
new.
again.
Right,
It's
right,
all
right.
new again, but it's really, I mean, the Buddha was 2,500 years ago.
Sure.
It's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
And even eating healthy, and all, everything that goes with that.
Right.
One thing you touched upon too was the word success associated with money, and that's something that we have in our household that is so not there. So our measurement of success has nothing to do with the amount of money you make.
Yeah.
Our measurement of success is our way of life, like
Yes.
as far as like our quality of life, how we are, how we're living our lives,
Yes.
and not the measurement of money.
I'm
at all.
on board with that.
Yeah.
But here's the flip side, though. The flip side, and somebody's thinking it right now. Somebody's listening right now
Yeah.
thinking, well, then how do you pay for this nice little house you have here? You see, in the cars and the food and so
It's all about balance.
we have to pay to live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you go to an ashram or monastery.
yeah,
That's the only
yeah.
way out.
But every couple, we're going to go back to the marriage thing again. If there's a spouse that's working and a spouse that's not working, and they're within their means, or they're surviving and they're happy with, like, because I say to Sue and I were convinced that when we got married, we would just live in a shoebox together. We
would
really
still be
didn't
happy.
care.
No van? No van?
No, or
Yeah,
whatever.
we would do the
but
van
we,
now.
But it was
didn't
irrelevant.
matter.
And
It
when we
didn't
found
matter.
this house, it needed to be torn down. It was in disrepair.
Right.
But the cool thing about it was that we were extremely happy being in a house that everyone around us, including our family and friends, all thought we were crazy. How could you live in such a house?
Yeah.
And it was like, but we saw a vision. We were like, oh no, we see our future of what we're gonna turn this house into.
Right.
And that was part of our energy of who we are to make that happen.
Right.
Well, we got to be together. So it didn't matter what the house... We knew we needed a house to live in.
Yeah.
We had 2 small children. We had to live somewhere. You still need a car to drive to work. But it wasn't about the size of the home or the size of the cars or the clothes we wore. It didn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because that's all temporary. That's all stuff that that's all stuff that doesn't necessarily make you happy.
It's material.
It's material stuff. So yes, you need a house to live in. Yes, you need a car to get to your work so you can have food to eat. But it doesn't have to be a house that has 17 rooms in it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
we got into
we were
our marriage in the
comfortable here.
negative, because we had both had gone through the divorces and all that, and we were in the negative with financially, and still stayed in that negative because of then we were renovating the house and blah blah blah, daycare and what have you. But that was sort of like something we just tucked to the side. That didn't matter.
Right.
The fact that we were together was, like I said, the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with where we were, what financial state we were in.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people do hang on to that financial state, and they also have these goals. Another thing I wanted to say real quick is I think people are waiting for something. They're always waiting. Like they're waiting to retire, or they're waiting for the kids to get out of the house, or they're always waiting for something to start their lives. And for us, it's like, no, we started our lives from day one. We went to Santa Fe, New Mexico. We got married without anybody around us.
Nice.
In a nice garden setting with this 80-year-old woman who married us. And we were there for the week. And we had a calling. I had a calling, at least, to go to Santa Fe. And it was just the coolest thing to do that. It felt great. And that was like the beginning. That was the start of our lives. We had nothing to wait for.
I applaud that, because the big wedding ceremony is it feels like it comes from a place of ego, and this big ordeal. It's like a reason to get everyone together and show off a little bit,
Right.
And for a couple to just go elope like that, and nobody needs to see it. It's between you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I like that. I like that a lot. And then your so-called honeymoon was built into.
Yeah, and then we
were
embraced.
there.
We were just there, and it was the coolest place
was
on earth
fun.
for us to hang out.
Yeah.
And explore and have a good time together. Of course, my job was I was working for PBS at the time doing a show, and I had to fly to California to shoot the show. And she came back to Connecticut. So when our honeymoon was over, we didn't get to come back home and become a couple right away, married in a house. I had to go away for 2 weeks, but
That's all right.
But once I got back, it was all good.
You mentioned the one person working and one person not.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's actually a good formula? To have one person kind of have the job and one person sort of
Depends on their
be
chemistry.
the ruler of the house, so to speak?
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't know. I don't know that. For us, I guess maybe it's best for Susie to speak of this, because most of the time, let's say in America or wherever, it's always the wife that's staying home, I guess. I don't know the statistics.
It's changing now. But
yeah, but so she may have a better thought of this than I would.
Well, I can tell you, when he got laid off and started working freelancing, I made a joke that I had a wife.
Right.
And every woman wants a wife.
Never.
Every woman out there would appreciate a wife.
Because I was in charge of the cleaning.
Because
And blah, blah,
he
blah.
would clean.
Yeah, sure.
He would pick up the kids if they needed to be picked up. not that he wasn't 50-50 before, but you have the restraints of your time, and working in television, it wasn't Monday through Friday,
Right.
8 to 5.
Yep.
So for all the sadness of him losing his job and having to start his own business, I was and still am benefiting from all that because he'll be home and he'll do the 3 loads of laundry.
Yeah.
I'll come home.
Do you
and
like it?
Yeah, I was raised with just my mother. My father had left when I was 3, so she raised 5 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment on her own.
Wow.
Without driving, no driver's license, and had a small job. So we all had chores, we all had responsibilities to keep the house going.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was interesting that I realized was, we lived in a poor home, but my mother always thought that it was best to keep the house as clean as possible because that meant something.
Yeah.
And it also meant security.
Well, take care of what you have.
Yeah, take care
Be
and
prideful
appreciate
for
what
what
you
you
have and all that.
That's something that I've picked up through the years with ashrams and monasteries. Is when you go to these places, you're given a job, and you don't get paid for it. It's your duty. It's like for your room and board.
Right.
And so you might do housekeeping, or you might work in the kitchen, or you might work landscaping. And that's your job. And you take pride in your job. And so the beauty of this type of work, which in the East is called seva, right? Service. And the beauty of it is you can sort of, it's a practice. You can stay in the present moment because you don't have to solve these major problems. Like, unless the washing machine just breaks, it's pretty standard.
Yep.
But somebody needs to do it.
Sure.
Right.
And so that's
And I think
one
that's
of
where the
things.
respect comes in too with your relationship. So it's no longer, it's your job to be doing these things and I'm only going to be doing X. Where I think when you've embraced a relationship where everything is yours. So, it is as us. So she jokes about the 3 loads of laundry that I might do because I'm home. Well, that's because it's convenient for me right now. I am home.
Right.
But then I might be working for 5 days in a row.
Right.
And then she'll come home from work, whatever. She's going to throw that laundry in. She's going to do the dinner. She's going to do that, clean
Right.
that house. But I'm just saying that it's
It's
not
just a
like she's waiting
partnership.
for me to do it.
Right.
And I'm not waiting for her to do life things.
Right.
Whatever those life things are on your list.
But
Other couples may have that
right.
categorized, and that could be part of their issue of being a healthy, happy couple.
Sure.
Is having that list of this is their responsibility, this is mine, and they're upset because the other partner isn't pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean, pulling your weight?
Yeah, I'm not
The roles.
Yeah. I think the old school way was one person stayed home, and that's an important job.
Yeah, well, I never was exposed to that, so I don't know what that means, you know what I mean? So I guess for our lives that we're living now, it was always an independent life growing up that I kind of had to do everything. You had to help out in the household, I had to help my mother, and, we all had to contribute. And I think I carry that on to my relationship today.
Right. Do you guys yell at each other?
Not very much.
No. I think what it comes down to too is that
we really
Yeah,
don't
and-
fight.
Like to hit you with a shotgun left?
No, but
No.
what I think I discovered, which I think is interesting, is we do like to tease each other, which is kind of fun.
Break stones.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it might, someone might be upset because something wasn't done or whatever, but we're kind of like in a teasing way of things, and
Yeah.
also nothing bothers us, I guess. Like anything that we do in our lives,
Very compatible.
yeah,
I don't know.
it doesn't bother me. Like, I would think that some couples would be upset because someone has a certain tick, or they act a certain way, they talk a certain way, it starts to get on them. Where we kind of almost like weave that into our marriage. Like we, if I tease Susie that, well, like, even though I'm doing all the talking today, but she had told me, make sure you tell Kevin that I'm not dominating the talking. But when we are with couples, I had a running joke with her and saying, "Have you used up all your words yet?"
Yeah.
because she had talked so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, so someone else can start speaking.
Yeah.
And the couples would look like us, like, uh-oh, Paul just said to Sue, have you used up all your words? But we know it
I
as
would just
being a
laugh.
joke.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? And
right.
it's a fun thing. Instead of me saying, hey, lady, will you please be quiet? Someone else wants to talk.
Right,
You know,
right.
that would be a rude thing.
Right.
Where we kind of bounce it off as a tease. We tease
Okay.
each other.
Sure. Yeah, and I think these are all great tips, tricks, whatever you want to call them, to a peaceful relationship, which is important. And like I said at the beginning, I've always been kind of cynical towards it because, there's some disasters. There's some plane crashes out there
There is.
of relationships,
Yeah.
and sometimes people, even though they stop getting along, they still stay together.
Yeah.
And they go another, 30
Yeah.
years, 30
Yeah.
years longer than they should have.
Yeah.
Or
And
whatever
it's
the
a
case.
struggle for us because we know of that, and it's hard for us because we have to kind of almost keep our mouths shut, and we wish we had words of wisdom, but we can't because we don't want to get involved in that way. It's none of our business, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, but it's sort of frustrating for us to see that around us and not being able to do anything about it.
Right.
Because what do you do? What can you do without alienating
Right.
people?
So, how do you guys deal with friends? You once said you have indoor friends and outdoor friends.
That's so true.
How explain that one?
So that is because we have a very small home.
Okay.
The living space, the common area is very small.
Mhm.
So if we have people over, say for dinner,
And it's a
we
winter.
we really can't have more than, say, 2 other couples
Yeah.
to sit comfortably and sit at the table and just, it's just a small home.
Which we don't mind.
So when we have parties, big parties, it has to be outside.
Right.
So the summer is my favorite time of year anyway, but we will have 75, 80 people at our home.
Wow.
We had a graduation party
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
between family and friends.
And that's just
and
not
that's
inviting
how-
everybody. We could never do that. I
No.
mean, we've collected a bunch of people in our lives. And I if you put a list together without family, we could easily have 150 friends that we would know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
come
over the
through here,
years.
through the years.
Yeah.
But
so that's where the
friends.
outdoor friends thing.
Joke
It
came.
was a joke when I had
Yeah.
first said it, that you just have certain people that you will have at your home when you're having a party outside, and then there's closer friends, I guess, that you would have actually over for dinner kind
Yeah,
of thing.
but just
so
as
that's
a
where-
disclaimer,
that's where
we
it
do
came
have
up.
closer friends that may not tolerate outside as far as the summer heat or the sun, let's say, even though we have porch and whatever. So they're more comfortable being inside
Right.
the house. So, okay, we'll invite them over when the cooler weather or winter time, or we used to do a Super Bowl party every year. We kind of stopped that. So that would be our indoor. Some of those friends are also outdoor friends, but
So you guys
we-
you guys are
we have a
cool.
combo.
You guys
We love
like to
it.
entertain.
We do.
We do.
Sure.
We like having people around us. We like talking, as you can tell, and we like hearing other people and being with. And it's a diversity of friends. And none of these friends may not be friends with each other. We have this whole diversity of people that don't know each other.
Right.
But it's almost like 6 degrees to us, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of
But
cool.
it's fun. You meet a lot of people
Yeah,
in
we love
town
it.
when
We
you
do
have
love it.
kids, and then you
Yeah.
have your friends when you were a kid.
Yeah.
We both grew up in Connecticut, so we still have some people here for that.
Yeah.
And then we've had some friends that we've made since we've
Sure.
been together.
Sure.
And
And
we've
then we
lost some
collect
friends
collect
through
people.
the years. With my divorce and Sue's divorce, friends have been lost, but then you collect new friends.
Right.
And then some friends have stuck with you.
Right.
And then they become closer because they get it. They
Right.
realize
They see
where
how
we are in
happy
our
you are.
lives.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
In fact, when we had this running thing too with divorce, where someone would say, "Oh, or I'm separated, or I'm getting a divorce," and we would say, "Congratulations."
Yes.
Imagine that. So we wouldn't say we're sorry, where most people would say, "I'm so sorry for you."
Hmm.
We would say, "Congratulations to you."
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
You're getting divorced. And it could be, let's say the spouse had left you, okay? And you're the one that someone had left you. We'd still say congratulations to you because it's a change of life.
Yeah.
And it was for the best. That person wasn't for you.
Right.
And so that's a good thing. You've lost that anchor.
Well, now you have an opportunity to find your person.
Like a reborn.
Sure.
You can be reborn again, I guess you could
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, I think that's a great outlook.
That's what we do.
So congratulations
Yeah.
is what we would say.
Yeah. And
Isn't that
that might
interesting?
shock some people, but that's
it's
a great
the truth.
outlook.
It's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
We're thinking it's not always a bad thing.
Life is
You're
a-
just not.
No.
Life is an ebb and flow. It's a flux.
Yes.
It changes. It's impermanent.
Yeah, I don't think change is a negative. And 2019, if I'm dating this podcast, I always thought was a huge change for so many people that we know in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Huge changes. Marriages, divorce, change of jobs, loss of job. It's unbelievable the amount of change I've seen this year. But it's been a cool thing to experience.
Right.
I love that change in a lot of people, seeing that happen. That's stirring the pot.
So speaking of change, you said that you have taken up meditation and law of attraction and things like this, and I know you guys have also visited the Healing and Harmony Center with Priscilla.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be talking to her on the podcast in a week or so as well. And so what type of experiences have you encountered in your journey?
How much time do we have? I mean,
Well, we've
got. I mean, this is a whole
we
other
got a
topic of discussion.
We got a few minutes.
Oh my God!
And I hope that whoever's listening has got what they needed out of the marriage stuff. But now, let's take a little left turn.
Oh boy!
I mean,
Well, even the Healing and Harmony, very, very rarely do we walk in there. Are there any other couples?
That's right.
So it's something that we've sort of discovered together
right.
at the same time. And some of the classes we take together. And we're always being applauded. And it's not the reason we go, but we're always being applauded by the speaker saying, wow, you guys are really lucky. Even you noticed. We were at your event as a
Right.
couple.
Right.
Well, we didn't go there hoping to impress you
Right.
with us being together there as a couple.
Right.
But we've sort of been on this journey of the mediumship and
Self-awareness,
and
meditation,
all together. So that
self-centering.
helps too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's been good. Priscilla was a good person to be around, as far as she's genuine, she's honest, she'll tell you straight out, and she talks to you about, being a good person for yourself. So that was sort of our new religion, I guess you could say, where we would go there and feel really good being at that place and taking like the Tibetan bowl meditation, the singing bowl stuff. We just did
do
that
that a lot.
recently, and we got another couple involved that loved it. So we do that a lot and as a couple, and it's just awesome because you're just detoxed by the end of that hour. So I highly recommend it to everybody.
You feel your vibrations. go up.
Oh, God, it's amazing.
Yeah, it
So there's
is.
cool stuff like that. I've taken a lot of intuitive classes. I have this sort of thing where I'm very intuitive about people. I can kind of sort of read them, read the room, and feel the energy of people and know where they're coming from and feel what they're feeling.
Yeah.
So I've enhanced that through her classes that she has on intuitive.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what she does, right? She takes someone who has a gift or a spark, and she kind of enhances it.
although
Absolutely.
she will tell you everyone has something.
Has something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And she's very generous with her knowledge and very generous with her. She's a good teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
But, she teaches mediumship classes, and I was not going to take that. And I was sort of talked into it, and she brings out stuff in you that is surprise even you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I was getting messages for the people I was in the class with, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But she very little surprises her.
Yeah.
Because she really feels like everyone has a talent. It's just whether you have tapped into it or whether you're self-aware or whether you have time. We have a daughter that's highly intuitive, but
Absolutely.
right now she doesn't have time. She's in
That's
the
right.
physical world right now.
Yeah.
She knows it's there,
Yeah.
but she wants to park it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she knows that that
Yeah.
it's gonna. It would
Yeah.
take more
And
effort
again,
than
it's
she
the
wants to
proof
give.
in the pudding. I was telling you about, asking things for the universe and then getting the proof of that by things happening. So when it came to doing these classes with Priscilla and being involved there, and you would experience certain things that took place, that was like, okay, I get it, and it's true.
Right.
Whereas if I went for the past 4 years and got nothing out of it, and I'm like, what's going on here? I'm just, I'm a dead zone, and nothing's happening with me.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, this is not for me, and I don't think it's real.
Right.
Where again, if people that know me, I'm not like, telling a fib here. I'm genuinely saying that I've experienced and have seen things through that center that is life changing.
Yeah.
And for the better. I mean, really cool. You know what I mean? And I kind of like apply it to my life. And Sue and I will get together and have these conversations right on this porch.
The sacred porch.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what we've experienced, or we'll talk about what I've experienced in my class and kind of give her that knowledge.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And then she soaks it in.
Yeah.
And then sometimes a little jealousy there because she's just like,
Oh,
man.
I do. I wish
It's like,
I had
got
what you
nothing,
have.
or I wish I
Yeah,
had that.
I
It's
try.
like,
Sometimes
but-
I think I try
and
too
I,
hard.
And I say it's there. You just have to kind of free your mind.
Yeah.
And one thing Priscilla says is the key word is allow. So if you allow things to happen in your life, just allow it to happen, it's going to flow through.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't resist it. Don't resist things in your life, I guess is a good thing to say to your listeners. Just allow things to happen. Let that flow. Let it flow. Don't block it.
Yeah. So this is a good segue to the next episode, which will be with Priscilla. So I guess we'll save that stuff. We'll let Priscilla speak for what's going on with her. But
Absolutely.
lastly, again, you guys were at the seminar back in May, the Inner Peace seminar. What were some of the key points that that resonated with you that day?
Mine was the ego part.
Mm-hmm.
So at work, I can't even articulate this. There's so much ego at my work that gets in their own way and gets in the team's way and gets into the success of the company that it's incredible.
Right.
And I can't say anything because obviously if I tell someone that they have too big of an ego, right, that you're insulting them.
Sure.
But it is so apparent that most people's stress is, first of all, self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted.
And it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it.
That's right.
So I loved that seminar you did.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved the drawings you did. I loved how you did the flowers, but then you had the
Shield,
the
the
dome
dome.
over it.
Yeah. You can't get things
to
grow.
Yeah, I thought it was
So
amazing.
well done,
You did
yeah.
a great job. You
Yeah.
really
Thank
did.
you.
And it's
Absolutely.
still, I thought we took it in June. We took it in May. I'm always getting little flashes of it, of what you talked about. And it doesn't, the man that was sitting by the tree and nothing could affect him.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
stuff is going to happen.
Yeah.
Stuff happens to everyone.
That's right.
It's just how you react to it.
Right.
And you have to almost train yourself to recognize ego too, because I think it's hidden within people.
Yeah.
You don't realize, why is this person acting this way? Or is it their personality?
Yeah.
Who they
Is
are?
it me?
Yeah, is
And
it
it's
me?
not.
Am I pissing them off? Am I doing something wrong?
Right.
And it's like, no, they've got this little ego thing going on. That's why they're their feathers are up, or they're acting a certain way. They're like a peacock with the feathers up and all.
Yeah.
Or just being
Overcompensating.
You got it. And it's like, what's going on
Yeah.
here? And it's like, if you can recognize that in people, that, oh, it's got to be an ego thing. And I've got this, I guess because of my intuitive ways or my skills of being intuitive, and our younger daughter's the same way. She has this way of talking and being with people to sort of work around that and get them out of that situation and kind of calm the situation down and like neutralize.
Okay.
Which is very cool, because then all of a sudden now it's like you're both in the same playing field, and that stress has dissolved. Where if you feed into that, if I start feeding into these people, I'm going to start having that tension. I'm going to start getting that stress.
Right.
And it's just going to build and build and build, and you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to be productive or creative, because in my field it's very creative.
Right.
So I have to have it where you neutralize it,
Right.
and bring it down. And a lot of it has to do with almost not really, you're kind of patronizing them, but in a good way. This is, you can
You're
neutralize
just trying
it
to
by
diffuse the situation.
diffuse the situation. This is awesome. I love the way you did this. Thank you so much. This is so cool. You did a great job. And I didn't know that this was happening this way. What almost having them teach me, even though I already know the answer, but tell me the answer, even though I already know it. And that diffuses stuff.
Yep.
Let them do that. Where if you say, look, I already know the answer, buddy, you don't have to tell me, their ego's going to get in there and attack you.
Yep. Sure does.
So
The little con man in your head.
Exactly.
It's like the Wizard of Oz type thing.
Yeah. So it's all about just recognizing it in other people and just figuring out a way, in a polite, calm way, to neutralize that.
Yeah.
To be able to manage it.
Yeah, sure. And also people that are very aware know when their own ego is acting up, and know when they're, doing what they do. Like when I do a seminar such as the one you were at, I know that I have to enhance myself in order to put on a performance, if you will. Because when I'm on this podcast, it's just me talking.
Yeah.
But when I'm in front of people,
Sure.
you got to times that by 3
Yeah.
to up it up.
Keep your energy level up.
And you did a good job with that, too, because you put a lot of humor in it. Sue and I are very into humor.
Right.
And when we talk a lot, we always have these big belly laughs. And I think that was important with what you were doing, was you had this humor that
it wasn't
you
too
infused,
serious.
Right.
which was great, because it kind of then breaks the ice, and everybody can relax now, and they're all
Sure.
not like as if they're in this lecture and they have to take notes.
Right.
It's more like everyone's now in the club.
Yep.
And you've made them feel comfortable with the humor end of it, which is great, which is a good approach.
Good. Yeah, no, that's always been my approach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even with the health stuff,
Yeah.
I've always gone for the laughs.
Yeah, it's good,
And
though.
to be give you guys a little secret, most of those jokes are not planned.
Yeah, well, that's
Well,
okay.
that's okay. That's
Improv
okay.
is
Then
the
they're more
best thing.
natural.
They just come.
Yeah.
Well,
If,
that's okay.
And it kind of like how a comedian works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
So
like
if something
improv.
works,
Yeah.
it goes in the back pocket,
Yeah.
and then in the next summer you can do it again.
That's right. We have these big belly laughs with the whole
Yeah.
thing with the indoor and outdoor friends. That was sort of an improv thing.
Yeah.
That came
Oh,
out.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like, oh my God, it's like we've got another
no,
little
it's a-
cool thing we can joke about in our lives.
Yeah, that's why humor is just such a beautiful thing. Something happens at a party, or at a dinner, or at a seminar, or whatever it is, and you can kind of break it out. 15 years later, you can break it out with a friend, and it'll still be funny, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's part of that. Again, is not taking yourself too seriously.
You can't.
No,
And
you
just
cannot.
You can't. It's all energy going here
That's
anyway,
right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So we're just about out of time. Yeah. There's like one topic I could do, but
It's all right. Keep going. We're good. People are still hanging in there. They haven't left us yet. I can feel it.
do you?
It's his intuitive
Yeah,
thing
I
again.
know.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
This is fun.
Lull them to sleep.
We
Yeah, I know.
got the furry mics.
I know.
Take advantage.
You got it.
What you mentioned earlier that you lost your mom.
Yeah.
How long ago?
10 years? No, wait, 15 now, right? It's been
Okay.
yeah. Cause
So when you've
Olivia's
been married this
17.
long, you can never answer a question on your own.
I
You
know,
always
I'm
have to
I'm
look
looking at her.
over
What
at
is
your
it?
spouse.
Yeah, I'm looking
just
at
so
her.
you know.
It's
You
like
guys are each
15
other's
now.
secretaries.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we check in. Yeah, so
Yeah.
15 years she's passed now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you have your
So-
parents?
I have my dad. My dad will be 85 in October.
Nice.
I lost my mom 3 years ago to ovarian cancer.
Okay. So boom, there we go. So one of the topics I talk about on this podcast very often is death.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with a parent leaving?
I think it depends on the situation. It's hard to explain, I guess. Like for me, my mom passed, but it wasn't at the right time. She had passed at the wrong time in all of our lives. She had a brain aneurysm, and she was here at the house. and fell in the shower,
And that was it?
and she went to the hospital, and then they lifestyled her to another hospital, and that was the end of it.
So it was traumatic.
Yeah, and she was with the kids, because one of my biggest thing too was having her involved in our kids on weekends and just be with us, because she was just on her own. And it was great to the kids embraced her. In fact, our youngest daughter, they would have been best friends. So she was 2 at the time when her Nana passed.
Right.
And but just to say, long story short, it was too soon. Now, and I think it was too soon for Sue's mom. She can speak on behalf of her mother, but at a certain point, like I had an uncle who was sort of like a father to us, but he was having a lot of health issues. So at some point, it was like he's suffering, and you don't want that either.
No.
So you're seeing your parent or your uncle or whoever suffering, and they're in hospice or they're in some care, and you're almost at a point where you don't want to say this, but you're wishing they're passing, because then they'll be at peace.
Right.
Versus the suffering all the time. That's not healthy. That's not a good quality of life.
How old was your mom when she passed?
She was 77.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right on the cusp of the age expectancy of American.
Yeah.
Of an American.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Sue,
that seems
with her
young to
mom,
me. 77 seems young.
Yeah.
Of course, the older I get. the
How old was
younger.
your mom?
My mom was 79, almost 80.
Okay.
Almost 80. She passed in July, and she would have been 80
Right.
in November. So she had health issues over the years. She had heart problems and took medication for it, but managed it. And then she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. I mean, ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
And
So not to cut you off, but you got 2 very different situations here. One is
Yeah.
snap of the fingers, and the other one is drawn out.
yes.
That's right.
So one, your mom, there's really, I would imagine there's no fear, because it just happened.
For her, there was probably no fear. We don't know that, because she was in the hospital for like an overnight kind of thing, and almost like in a coma, I guess. So, but and then passed. The family rallied around within hours.
Yeah.
And her sister came up from New Jersey, and we all kind of hung out, and it was pretty intense. So I'm hoping that.
But it happened so fast.
Yeah, but it was. So she's just passed, gone.
Right.
Within that moment of time. So you're right. It was just a blip.
It was 24 hours pretty much?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
Gone.
Absolutely.
And-
Probably in 12.
And then in your situation,
We got to talk a lot.
cancer is a long...
She'd wake up. She'd be in hospice and be
So
upset.
she was sick from, well, she went through chemotherapy. She was living with cancer for about 2 years. So the chemotherapy was what was kicking her butt. Just tired, but she was getting through it. And then she got sick in July or June, and went into the hospital and never left.
Yeah.
So we thought she just had a blockage. So we thought that was different than the cancer, and that she was going to come home, especially my dad. And she never came home. So she went to hospice. But what was nice about that was being able to talk with her about her dying.
Right.
It was a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah.
But
And what was her attitude?
she was positive. She had lost her mom when she was 16. So she was looking forward to seeing her mom. She was looking forward to seeing her dad. She was looking forward to seeing her brother.
Yeah.
But it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too. I think Healing in Harmony changed me, and I'm sure with Susie, too, that we don't fear death. Where a lot of people, I think, fear death. So we sort of like, what is death in a way?
Well, you understand the energy.
You got it. So it's
Yeah,
like,
and
she
my mom has
missed
come
that.
back and
yeah.
visited him.
Mm-hmm.
She's visited me. She's been at Healing in Harmony almost every time I'm there. Priscilla will just walk by me and say, "Oh, your mom says hi," or "What anniversary is today?" And it's like, "Oh my God, today's my parents'." Like, she just says things in passing. So my mom visits a lot. So sometimes if I had my way, I would live at Healing in Harmony, because I feel like my mom is there, because she had a reading right before she passed, so she was familiar with Priscilla and the energy there and all that. So
Really?
she has come through probably 10 times while I've been there,
Right.
through different people, but came through before she was even buried to him. The night she died on a Monday, Tuesday night he woke up and said, "Your
I
mom's
started making
here.
a list.
Your mom's here. She wants to know if you want to talk to her."
I
And
had
I
a
was
whole
like,
list
"What?"
of things that I wrote out, and it was all
And of
based
course
on
he
her
would
mother's stuff
never
that I knew, I
make
didn't
that
know about.
up, because that would have been horrible.
Yeah.
But the stuff he was doing and the stuff he was saying, he didn't even know he was doing and saying. I knew what it was. So it's sad in that you miss them. I know she's at a good place, but it's just sad that I just miss her.
Right,
You
right,
know, I
sure.
forget sometimes. Sometimes I want to pick up the phone and call her.
Sure.
But she's not there. But
How long was she in hospice?
she was in hospice for about a month,
Yeah.
and can't say enough about those people.
Yeah.
Just the compassion that they
Sure.
have for people is just amazing.
Mhm.
But it was nice. It was nice for her. We all got to say everything we wanted to say. We reminisced. We laughed. You wouldn't think you'd be in hospice laughing, but you're telling family stories, and you're talking and you're reminiscing, and it was nice. And she said she saw Raphael. My mom didn't know who Raphael was, so that was incredible. And it was
And who's Raphael?
Raphael is a saint
Okay.
of healing,
Okay.
and for her to know that, it was like, what? And she, after her wake, I went to a session with Priscilla, and Priscilla described the entire wake. Priscilla was not at the wake, but my mom was. So we had little white cards that we had handed out to people, because my mom had a fork. She was buried with a fork, because there's a story about how a priest is at a potluck with a woman, and everyone's clearing all the dishes, and the woman says, "Keep your fork, keep your fork, keep your fork." And the priest comes over and says, why are you telling everyone to keep your fork? And she says, "Because good things are coming." So my mom loved that story. So we buried her with a fork. And at the wake, we had little cards with the story on it, so that every single person didn't ask us why she was holding a fork. So at a session with Priscilla, she came through and my mom talked about the white cards. There would be no way Priscilla would know that.
Right.
And also she talked about how many people had been at her wake. I mean, she was almost 80 years old. There had to have been 300 people at that wake. People were standing in line waiting to see her. And there would be no way she would know that.
Right.
So that's been a huge gift too, that she visits me through, at Priscilla's, which is nice.
Well,
So you just miss them. Everyone dies, but it's a matter of you miss them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've heard one guru describe it as, when a person dies, it's very similar to a star in the universe dying. And what's a star turn into? A black hole. And the black hole is what? It looks like nothing, right? There's nothing visual there, but it's a vessel of energy.
Right.
Right? The star collapses into a thing of energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how he
Yeah,
describes
that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
interesting stuff. And I'll tell you, if to anyone listening right now, you're in for a heck of an episode with Priscilla, because
She's awesome.
Yeah, we've experienced her as much as we can.
yeah,
The whole place is amazing. It really is.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She
She's
really
just a good
is.
person. And she has good people there too that go through with her and are either mediumships or do Reiki or whatever. and it's just all good stuff. It's all good healing. It's all good
It's all positive.
It's self-reflection. It's good for your soul. It's good for your body. It's good for your being. You know? And there's probably a lot of people that aren't into it, but there might be something there that you can experience, believe it or not, that you didn't realize is actually really good for you.
Yeah.
I think we had that the other night with a couple that we brought to the. We met them for the Tibetan bowls, the singing bowl meditation, and one, I can say this because we're not saying who they are, but we're in the parking lot, and my friend looks down at his shoes, and he's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
He was so relaxed, it was throwing him off.
So just, a state of mind of just self being there. He just was in a state where he's like, I think I'm forgetting something. And I said, yeah, you forgot your thoughts.
You forgot your worries.
There's no thoughts any longer.
That's right.
You're just in the moment of us standing here, and now you have to now you have to get in the car. And I said, one thing you should watch out for is make sure you watch those red lights. Because when you're driving after that, you have to be conscious of your surrounding, and you're not conscious of anything when you're done with that session.
Yeah.
You're just cleansed out. Your brain.
Yeah,
just
highly
cleansed
recommend
out.
it.
It's really good. I mean, that type of thing. But there's other things that
Yeah,
Priscilla
that one's
will
a good
talk
one,
about
though.
that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the invite to the sacred porch.
Yeah.
I've seen butterflies. I've seen bumblebees. I hear chimes. There's cars going by, and it's just nice and peaceful. There's a little
The sounds of our house.
sounds of the house going. Yeah,
It's great here. We love it here.
It's nice. So I hope that the listeners got a lot out of this. Marriage, peaceful marriage motivation. And, death always comes up in every episode,
Yeah,
it seems.
that's okay.
Even with a 6-year-old.
Yeah. That's okay. That's good, though.
So I think you can't talk about peace without talking about death.
Sure.
You know. So, all right. So is there any place where people can come say hi to you? Is there any digital home for you that you want
no.
to put out?
Not yet. We were thinking of having our own little thing, but we're just...
I do a...
oh, yeah.
You have a Facebook, right?
I do have a Facebook page called Work in Progress.
Okay. Good name.
I post something about nutrition every day. I always try to keep it positive, as opposed to, don't do this. I would rather celebrate this. I do recipes. I'll do, health benefits of cinnamon or turmeric or whatever. So it's a public page. So anyone is welcome to pick that up.
Work in Progress on Facebook. It's a good name. Go find it. Go say hi. And if you're looking for me, then drreese.com. That's doctor spelled out.
Thanks for listening to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese. If this episode opened your heart, feel free to share on social media and tell your loved ones. Also, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, may peace be with you.